All right. Good evening, everybody. Let's stop share here. Okay. You made it. You made it. This is the last and final class of this course, and I hope you all enjoyed it. I'm actually really excited about this class in particular because this is my element. I know that obviously the last classes I had to stick to a curriculum and I had to touch on some building blocks for each of the suites, for each of the programs, and especially with Excel, I really kind of felt I had to tame myself so that I could keep pace, make sure everyone's learning, and it's at a comfortable speed. But we are now all past that. We could check that off the list. I hope everyone had the opportunity to catch up on the previous classes if you wanted to learn or catch up. But I would look at this class independently. Just a minute here. Let me open up all my, sorry. Oh, what's going on here? Okay, we have the Q&A. Okay. Oh. Okay. So I look at this class independently because number one, we will be using your familiarity with how Excel works, data entry, formulas, basic formulas, but more importantly, we'll be leveraging now your familiarity and take it to the next level. What I'm going to show you today and what we're going to learn today is pivot tables. And I just a quick, you guys could, I guess, post on the Q&A or maybe just the chat. Did anyone have an opportunity to look at the questions and answer some of the questions? Please go ahead. Let me know you're there. I would appreciate it. Just say hello. See, I have 16 people so far. Okay. All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay. Thank you for at least acknowledgement. Okay. No worries. Like I said in the email, don't worry if you get frustrated. If you didn't get a chance, no problem. I'm going to just walk you through how to find that information, but more importantly, how do you navigate an Excel file? And I think just to start with a few points, number one, I've had discussions offline, online about the difference between Google Docs and Excel, or Google Sheets and Excel. Google Excel cannot do this. Google Sheets cannot do what we're about to do. And I know there's many advantages of why people use Google Docs. You have easy sharing. If you have a Gmail account, you have the Google Docs applications. It's free. It's not like Office where you need to pay for this stuff, because you do have collaboration tools as well with Office. But many times what I do is I would go ahead and just download the Excel file into Excel from a Google Doc, do what I got to do, and then upload it back if I need to share it, or maybe take a screenshot, take a picture of the graph or the data that I analyzed, and put that back up onto the Google Doc so people could view it and share it and so on and so forth, so it's still accessible. So I don't ever want my limitations of Google Sheets to limit my ability to analyze data when I need to analyze data and I leverage Excel to do so. Okay. I will also take this opportunity. You know what? I'm just going to dive right in, because I think as I start navigating it, I'll just talk out my train of thoughts when I get an Excel file, how I navigate it, what to look for, how to clean up the data, and so on and so forth. Let's dive right in. So let me go ahead and share my screen with you. Okay. So I just want to say thank you for those who shared the data. This is totally cleaned up. They're to protect the innocent. This is all made up data. I mean, they're real expenses, but it's made up. Many of the information, or most of the information, is all the numbers, the companies, and everything else. They're real, but they're fake. So it's real fake data, as I mentioned. Okay, so please take a moment to open up your Excel file, get that in front of you, and I created 2 folders. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to pull up the Word document or the email, but I just copied and pasted it into Word to go ahead and show you how I would answer these questions for starters. 1 second. Sorry, what's happening here? Okay. Okay, so let me give you a scenario here. A few things. One, by the way, we learned how to create a sheet like this. I'm right now in 2019 summary. We learned how to create format a sheet like this. But as you do notice, there are no formulas here because actually what I did was I created this dashboard or summary from the detail tab here. If you look at the detail tab, we have 1, 2, 5 columns and almost 3,000 rows. Okay. Okay. So we almost have 3,000 rows, and the reason why I wanted to do a very large document with a lot of data, because initially when you look at it, it's crazy. And I know just reading the questions that I wrote, if I didn't know how to use Excel and pivot tables, I would have gotten a headache and I would have given up and I would have been extremely frustrated. And I would say the one thing I'm missing from this class is to be there in person with everyone as you guys appreciate and start realizing how much time you could save and how much time you spent on figuring out information on an Excel file and how quickly you can do it now with Excel. It's funny, I actually sat with my mother a few weeks ago and she was telling me she had an issue with Excel. I walked her through it and she was like, Moshe, you just saved me hours of time. So I hope that moment comes throughout this class. Some may get it sooner than later, but it is really cool. And once you learn that, I'm telling you, Excel becomes an open field. I mean, you're not intimidated by any data that's thrown at you because you know exactly how to handle it and how to organize it and then how to slice it and dice it. So here I have my summary, my 2019 summary, okay, which is really cool. I just wanted to show you for starters, just a summary to help kickstart things. So total expenses, I asked amount for 2019. That's pretty straightforward right here. My grand total is already calculated. I have 136,823, right? Easy answer. How much was spent on travel category? I go here. I could just look. That was $1,579. No problem. By month and year. Okay, so that's not bad. I could see each month. What was the highest month? There's a few ways I could do that, but just, again, let me shrink this page a little bit because you could see my calculator here. Look, when I highlight over, it tells me again at the bottom, average, minimum, maximum. So right away, I could use my little indicators at the bottom. Tells me, okay, my lowest cost in travel was $25. My maximum cost that I spent in a month was $514, and my total sum was $1,579. So like I mentioned, that's a real quick way. If you're just looking over data that you have in front of you, you could use your little quick access bar at the bottom there to do those calculations for you without having to enter a sum calculation or formula. Okay, which airlines? Okay. Which airlines? Okay, Whoa, why did I close this? Okay, sorry. Okay, I want everyone to go to the details page because what I want to show you now are quick ways to sort data and search for data, okay? Because there are tricks to the trade to do it. So you may be familiar with it, which is great, but I'm going to show you how to quickly sort through data. So let me first Control A and remove the filter button, okay? So I get this document, and right now, as you see, it's on line 2,677. I want to scroll up to the top, okay? So I'm going to press Alt and the Home button. What happened? Alt Home. There, sorry, I keep mixing up. It's Control Home. Control End. Yeah, Control Home. So Control Home will get me to the top cell, and now I'm at the top of the page. Okay, now there's no real order. Just make sure you're on A2, so that, or A1, which is your headers, your column headers. So we have date, company, amount, category, and item description. Now, the reason why it's also important to look at this data like this, and I want to teach you how to navigate it, is because if you're using, let's say, Quicken to keep track of your bills or your expenses or your income, you're going to export it into Excel, and it's going to come out just like data, just like a data output. You could go ahead and do it like a formatted table, but if you want to really get into the nitty-gritty of and analyze stuff, you need to bring it out into a detail tab like this, where every single transaction is its own line, okay? And that's important because that's the only way that we'll be able to analyze this effectively. So I'm looking at this data export. I just exported it from my Excel file, and I have 3.5 years of expenses over almost 4,000 rows. And I want to now start sorting because I want to find out which airlines did I use in 2019. So highlight the number one. So you want to highlight the top row. Okay, once you highlight the top row, come over to our editing. You should be at your home. Come over to your editing, and here you have sort and filter. Click on the filter button. And as you will see right away, the filter button will pop up, and you'll have the ability now to filter and control what you see. Okay, now I'm looking for the travel category. So I first want to filter by category. So if I select here, I see a lot of options. And by the way, there's a few cool things. Number one, Excel automatically organizes it alphabetically. Okay. Now, notice there's a search bar here as well. What I'm going to type in is transportation, and there you go. Transportation pops up, and it's automatically selected. Okay, I press OK. And then now, only the transportation category is in the Excel file, and it's sorted. Now, how do I know that something is being filtered right now? Is that you see right on the top, there is this little like funnel. I think that's what you would call it, a funnel. Let me zoom in a little bit. Okay, here we go. So I now have selected the funnel, and I have only the transportation category. And if you notice, by the way, if I hover over it, notice category equals transportation. Now, if I selected, let's say, camp tip, I would hover over this, and it would show me equals camp tip or equals transportation. Okay, so that is a quick way and an easy way to see what you have already sorted. So now I know I want my transportation. Now I want to see for 2019. Okay, so I'm going to come over to the date, and I'm going to click on the date. Now, what's cool about the date as well, if the cell is formatted properly to represent a date, Excel will organize it for you and layer it. So it goes from year. Now, if I select the year, then it breaks it down by month, and then it breaks it down by day. So that's really cool as well. So I'm going to go ahead and unselect everything, and I'm going to select on 2019. Okay, so I only want to see transactions from 2019, and I'm going to press OK. Okay, so now I only see transactions from 2019. I'm going to shrink my screen a little bit, and notice here, by the way, notice right in the corner here, let me use my little red dot here, spotlight. No, not, what is it? Okay, here, right here, if you notice, right here, you see that number 92 of 2,862 records? That's a really handy number as well, because right when I sort that, it tells me right away how many cells that I have. So I have 92 transactions that occurred with my transportation in the year 2019. Okay, so far so good. Excellent. One sec. Okay. Now, let me go back to my mouse. All right. Now, so now what I want to do is I want to now be able to break it down by airlines. Oh, sorry. You see, I'm I'm in transportation. I should be in travel. Sorry. So no problem. Just go for it. And there you have travel. Oh, it's so much easier now. The travel, if you saw, I had transportation, and it should have been transportation, it should have been travel. So just go ahead and deselect transportation and select travel, and now we have 15 records that have travel, okay? Now, I want to know how many airlines, which airlines did I fly throughout 2019, okay? So I could go ahead and A to Z. So, sorry, let me show you that. So now I want to do alphabetical. So in addition to me having a search bar to find, in addition to me to search to find how the different, a specific cell or specific text in a cell, I also have the ability here to sort A to Z, sort Z to A. I could even sort by color, custom sort. I could even sort by text filters. So equals, does not contain, begins with, ends with, contains, does not contain, custom filters, so on and so forth. So I have a lot of powerful filtering options in my Excel file. So I'm just gonna go ahead and do an A to Z, okay? And again, just as a side note for those who missed it, the filtering option is located by the editing area there, okay? By editing area, you have this filter. You click on the filter button, and that will allow you to filter all the active cells, okay? So now I have, which airlines did I have? So I have Aeroflot, that's 1, Alaska Airlines, that's 2, American Airlines, that's 3, okay, these are all American Airlines. Delta, that's 4, Easy Advantage Rent-A-Car, no, that's not an airline, and okay. So I used 4 different airlines, okay? That's how many airlines I did. So by month and year, I used which airlines, those airlines. Now, if I wanted to go and go even more, which airlines that I use for each month, I'm gonna get a headache trying to figure that out. So we're gonna save that for later. Okay. Let us go to the next spent account. Okay. So now it's I asked what's the amount spent on Amazon? Okay. Amazon's a company, and if I go back to my 2019 summary, it doesn't break it down by those categories. So I'm gonna have to go back to my details. And now what I'm looking for is not a category, I'm looking for a company. Okay, so I'm going to reset my filters except for 2019. I wanna make sure I'm still selected on 2019. And I've deselected all my categories because now I'm focused on Amazon, okay? Now, I'm gonna type Amazon. And amazing savings. That's not what I want. I want Amazon. Do we not have any Amazon costs for 2019? Let's take a look. Maybe in 2019 I didn't spend anything. Let's see. Let's make sure all my filters have been removed. And okay. So that I answered my question. For 2019, I didn't spend on Amazon. That's good to know, because I used my handy filter and I didn't find anything. I'm going to move on to the next question. Oh, okay. So you may actually come across, like, if you unselect, you have to always select something. If you deselect, something always has to be selected in order to go outside of the cell. You can't unselect everything and to move out. So make sure at least one of these selections is selected. So if 2019 selected, then you'll be able to press OK. If you don't have anything selected, you will be grayed out, and all you can do is cancel that selection. Okay, so that is just an important note. Okay, so now let's go to the next one. Total amount spent at Rite Aid. Okay, pretty simple. Let me go ahead, and I'm not going to go category. I'm going to type in now Rite Aid. Okay, so apparently I didn't spend any money on Rite Aid in the year of 2019. Okay, that works. Let's go to the next category. Largest spending category by year in total. Okay, for that I have already the 2019 summary. Okay, so the largest spending category. Okay, so here's a cool trick, by the way. I see here, so again, I could go and look and see my max category, 39.25, but then I have to figure out exactly, I'm sorry. I have to now look through the cells, which one is that 39.25. So if I want to know what was my highest spending category, I want to give some sort of symbol to that, okay? So for this, I'm going to show you a cool conditional formatting. Okay, so we're on 2019 summary. I highlight all the cells that I want to activate, and I click on conditional formatting. So again, I'm in the home menu, and I hit on conditional formatting, and I do color scales, okay? Color scales will give me these options, and I'm going to go ahead and select the green category. So green representing the highest and red representing the lowest. Okay, so here right away, I get a quick glance and I see right away what's my highest. So it's between my tuition and my mortgage. Oh, I love tuition. I love tuition even more than my mortgage. Baruch Hashem. Building the family. So that is my highest category, and I could see that quickly because I formatted them with my color ranges, okay? And again, what I could show you also, if you don't have any of the the customized status bar here, okay? So customized status bar, I have already, you go ahead and click on the bottom bar and you'll get these options to show the stats that you could show on the status bar. So I have average selected, count, a minimum, maximum, and sum. So if you're doing this, if those are selected, then all you have to do is just highlight cells and they will show you at the bottom corner of how to locate those. Excuse me. Okay, just 1 second. This is an important text. Sorry. Okay. So that is how, if you didn't get a chance to add to your quick status bar, that is how you get it there. Okay. Now, I have my color coded here. All right, so now that's cool. Now let's move on to the next category. Lowest spending category. Okay, what's my lowest spending category? Well, thanks to my I could do it two ways. One, I could look here. My lowest spending category is $100. But if I look here, what's my reddest? I just look for red, and there we go. That was my camp tip. That was my lowest spending category for the year in 2019. So my highest spending category was my tuition, and my lowest spending category was my camp tip. Okay. Total amount spent in clothing. Okay. Clothing. Here we go. Total amount I spent $5,000 on clothing in 2019. Now it wants to know brands. Okay, no problem. We'll go into the details. And again, I'm going to sort by category. And I'm going to type in clothing. That will pull up right away, regardless of how many categories I have. I may have 1,000 categories. I type that out. And now I have a bunch of different. So there really is no smooth operator on this one, because I see there's a lot of repetition. You know, many times when you do a transaction, depending on what company you used, where you spent, how you paid for it, the transaction comes up inconsistent, right? So here, if I just highlight it alone, there's 121 cells, 121 transactions in my clothing department. But there is no rhyme or method on how they are categorized as companies. Okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to clean up this data to make it a little easier to count my companies. Okay? So ASOS is one company, and it's all the same. So I'm just going to highlight all those companies, and I'm going to do, so one, I could do autofill. Okay, that's one way to do it. Okay, another way, which is really cool, I like this way too. This is, I don't know, I think maybe, I don't know, maybe the autofill button is, maybe this is the quick way to do autofill. I don't know, but I do Control D. Control D, and that maybe that is the shortcut for autofill. Control D, and that will populate all that information. So Banana Republic is independent, basic color is the same. Boitique, I see, is nothing. Okay, Burlington, we got a lot of different stores going on there. I'm gonna go ahead and clean that. I'm gonna highlight Control D, and that will now clean that up as well. I have Century 21. And I don't like all these different stores and locations. I'm gonna go ahead and delete. So all I have is Century 21 and Control D, and now I have that cleaned. Okay, I'm gonna do that with DSW. I see DSW's got a few funny ones. Clean that up. Fame, I just wanna keep it clean. I don't want all those other funny numbers. So then this, I could just do an autofill, drag that down. I got that clean. Forever 21. Inc, okay, that's pretty consistent. H&M, that is a really funny one if you notice the next one. So that's also H, amp, whatever. Let's go ahead and do that. Target, let me delete the store number. And just by the way, what we're doing here is we're not wasting our time. Okay, it may seem tedious, like, oh, now we have to go through here. I'll show you even a quick way to do this. And then more importantly, why it's so important to clean up data like this, because we learned how to do graphs and pie charts. Well, this is the only way that you'll be able to do pie charts with any of your data. The data, what just happened? Oh, I closed everything, sorry. I just closed it? Oh, I pressed Control Q, sorry. Okay, it's back up. Sorry about that. Are you kidding me? There we go. Okay. So when I use the term clean data, and maybe if you're in the industry, if you deal with technologies, they talk about clean data. What clean data really means is that the data that you're providing the computer or the software, whatever, is consistent. It's consistent in its form. It's consistent in the text, the way it represents data. So when I'm saying clean data, for companies, I want it to be consistent. So Macy's should be the same Macy's no matter where I purchased that, whether it was online, whether it was in a store in California, whether it's a store in Texas or a store in New Rochelle, or maybe I paid cash and I keep track of that. So however you're going to organize this data, make sure that the company name is consistent. So here, Marshall's, we're going to do that. I'm going to stop there because I'm going to do this on a bigger global level shortly, but I just want to get some sort of idea. So now what I can do is, now that I have this sort button, I don't even have to scroll down. I could just count right from the selection. Okay, so I do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. It's like 26 brands. Okay, we got our answer, but that took a while. So, time is money. Time is money. Okay, total food category. Okay. What is this? This is for something else. Not for me. All right. Total food category. Total food category, I spent $2,361. All right. Now it wants to know the brand, so to speak. Where did I shop for this food? Let's go back here. Category. Let's go to food. And here you go. Again, this is 77 transactions. If I look at my bottom left there, 77 out of the 2,862. And now you see here, there are lots of stuff, a lot of cleaning up to do. So if I were to do A to Z here, yeah, we're talking a lot. We have chocolate espresso, and then we have espresso bar. Both the same company, coming up different ways. We got Good Bar, Holy Schnitzel. One is this, and then we have Neverland, New York. Made that city up myself. Okay, we got Second Cup, and we got Shabbos Fish, and then here we got again chocolate all the way at the bottom. So because that was paid with the Square app, which now is coming up as a different type of transaction. So if you're getting the idea here, is that there's a lot of moving parts, and for me to really get that answer, I really got to clean up my data. Let's just leave it at that. Okay, so how much charity was given? How much are monthly utilities? Let's go to how much monthly utilities. Monthly utilities, that was pretty straightforward. You know, $7,217 I spent on utilities, and on average, monthly average, if I look, I just highlight that, look at the bottom, my monthly average was $600 a month, the max being $1,100, the minimum being $391. And, you know, obviously what we learned in class, we could do, you know, the min equals the min formula, and just highlight that, close that, and there you have the minimum. I could drag that across. So the grand total minimum, and then again, the max, that's equals, do a max formula, highlight all the categories, and that would be my most expensive, the most I spent. Okay. How are we doing? Any questions? Okay. Oh, sorry. Okay. I guess, Paul, were you able to figure out how to add filters on your details page? I think I showed it again. If not, I'll show you one more time. I'm gonna go ahead and first, I'm gonna highlight my top row, and I'm gonna come to editing here, and I'm gonna unclick my filter, and if you notice, that removed my filters, and now it is just bottom here. What I would like you to notice too, which we learned in last class, is the freeze pane, right? So view, my top row is frozen, but I could do unfreeze, and now when I go up, I lose my categories, okay? But I like, especially when I have a lot of rows, I like to keep that top category, especially when I have different categories that I want to reference. And I just, here it's called freeze top row. And then no matter where I am on the sheet, it will automatically freeze the top row. Okay, so now I want to add my filters. I highlight the top row here, and I go over to editing by filters, and I click on the filter button, and that creates filters by each of the header categories. That is how I get my filters in. Okay. Okay, so as far as like the max and min, and also the formulas themselves, again, I just type the min, you know, the min category here, which refers to, you know, the minimum amount. What was the minimum value in a set of cells? So I just went ahead and did that. And you could do it for all the months. And the way to do that is just do your autofill, right? So you just drag it across, and that would duplicate the formula. And the duplicate the formula, just move the formula over to one cell over, okay? And the same would be with the max formula. I type it in, I press enter, I select the formulas that I want, and I have my max formula there. And again, you can just drag that over to the total, and that's where you will have your minimum max there. Okay. Okay, Avi, I hope I covered that as far. Yeah, Jack, as far as the caps and some only first letter, again, that is there's it's preference, but I will show you how to do that quicker. Yes, clean data, I will show you. Okay, YN, yes, there is a much simpler way. Yes, much simpler way to do it, and I'm gonna show you. So I appreciate the feedback, because if you're feeling frustrated, that's good, because I'm gonna show you how to get rid of that frustration and clean this up. You give me 10 minutes, I'll clean up this entire sheet, like literally, okay? So I'll show you how to do it in just a minute. I wanted to get through at least the questions that I asked you and show you how difficult it is because of the data and why it's just not clean. We gotta clean it up, what's the word? Unify it. Okay. Okay, so, good catch there. The triangle, we've had this before, but I'm happy that it popped up again. When you create a formula and the green triangle comes up, Excel is basically letting you know that something is inconsistent with that formula. And what it's telling me here is, if I highlight over it, this formula in the cell refers to a range that has additional numbers adjacent to it. In other words, I don't know what is maybe just my experience with Excel. What it's basically telling me is it realizes that I did a formula and I missed the last cell. Okay, because look, if I include the last cell, watch, that triangle will go away. Now it's going to tell me, yeah. Now it's going to tell me inconsistent formula, because now this is a different formula than all the other ones. So the green is telling you that there's something not right with it. How do you get rid of it? Because it's ignoring. Just say ignore error. And then if I go ahead and drag it across, it now it's in that cell, it's already, I told it to ignore. Now I just go ahead and highlight all the other ones and just tell it to ignore error. And then that's why that green triangle is there. So you could always ignore it. But if you do see it, it doesn't hurt just to go ahead, double click, make sure that the formula is doing what it's supposed to be doing. And if it is, then just go ahead and highlight all the cells that have the triangle, ignore that error, and it's not going to come up unless you change the formula in that cell. Okay. All right, I realize, let me just take one more second here and I'll show you the min and the max. So what I did here is I typed the min formula. What I could do also is what we've done in the past is I click on my insert function, okay? Insert function, the number there. Oh, I'm gonna cancel because it already, sorry. There was already a formula there. Okay, so I'm gonna click on insert function and then remember, I get this insert function bar, okay? And I want to go to the min. So the minimum is under, I believe it's math and trigonometry. No, is it by min? No, it is, what do we call it? Financial? Or if I don't know where it's found, I could just go like this. Min, search for a function, there we go, minimum. Okay, I found it. So I want the minimum, I'm gonna press OK. Then it's going to ask me the numbers. So I click on that and it tells me, now this is where I select the cells that I want to show the minimum for. And there I have my minimum, I press OK, and now I have my minimum cell. Okay, I hope that helped you out. Okay, why is name? Okay, if you want, you go ahead and save. Okay. Oh, got it. Okay, so it means that if you get a hashtag name on your cell, that means the cell wasn't entered properly. So let's say if I do this, there you see, this means that the cell, there's no formula. And if I look, I realize that it's a formula, it's called minimum formula, but I didn't give it any parameters. I didn't give it any arguments. So I need to give it parameters. So I'm gonna open up my parentheses, which now it asks me, okay, what numbers? What is your argument? So I'm gonna select the cells for which I want Excel to provide back a formula, and then that is now giving me the minimum for the month of January. Hope that answers your question. Okay. All right. I'm going to take, let's say, one category. Let's take the travel category. And what I want to do is I want you to remove your filter for the year, okay? Okay, so Avi brings up a good point. Okay, so we have two things we're dealing with here when you're cleaning up data. You have the company name, but let's say there are details that you would like to include that may, for example, Avi's example, let's say you shop at Target and there is a location that you always shop at, but if there is a Target that comes up that is in a different place, how are you going to make sure to point that out? So that's just one scenario. But in general, how do you keep your details? Let's say these details that you export are important, but you want to create some clean data on the flip side. So this is what I would do. So I would add a column here. So insert, okay? So I have the company, and then I would call it main company, okay? Let's call it main company. Okay, so what we're gonna do is the main company is gonna be the header company name. So this is gonna be singular and united throughout the entire page. And we're gonna keep the company names are going to be unique as they were entered into the Excel file. So I'll be able to keep the detailed information. And you'll see how this plays out when we start analyzing this data. Okay, so again, just go ahead, highlight the B. This time you do want to highlight, click on the B, and that will automatically highlight the entire cell. Right click, and that you'll get your insert. Click on insert, and that will automatically insert a column. Okay, so now you have columns active from A through F. Okay, so now that you have your main company, make sure that your dates are all selected. So we're going to start cleaning up 4 years worth of data. And let's start with our travel category. Okay, so let's click on our travel category. I'm going to type this time all the way so I get my travel category. So now I have, it's a nice, easy travel category. Okay, there's only 30, so it's a good place to start. Okay, so now there are ways to do it. I could do A to Z. Okay, and here, a quick way to do it. There isn't that much data, so I'm just going to type out Aeroflot one more time. I'm going to Control D that. I have an ear, B&B. I have Alaska. So here, Alaska Airlines. Here, I see that it's pretty clean. I'm just going to copy one, Alaska Airlines, that's clean. And I'm just going to highlight all the way to Alaska Airlines. And then I have American Airlines. You see, I have a clean data there, so I'll just copy and paste it there. And then I'm going to drag it till I have all American Airlines. I have Delta. So Delta, I have Delta. I got Easy Advantage. Easy Advantage. Okay. Got Easy Pass. Okay. Got Hyman's. I got JetBlue. I have United. I have MB Travel. And I have Orbitz. Okay. All right. So now, if I look here, notice that it has now consolidated my companies. You see, now it's consolidated. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I have 12 companies out of 30 columns. So already you can see just by the filter itself, you could see that it's clean. And if I come to the company, look at that mess. So just right away, you see how clean that data is. So, okay, these are the companies. And if I come here, this is my companies. Okay. All right. I like this category because it's small. Okay. So now we're gonna introduce a pivot table for this category, travel category. Okay. So in order to introduce a pivot table, you must highlight all the data. Okay. So Control A anywhere on the, you want to make sure that you're on an active cell, because if you do Control A on any cell outside of the active cells, it highlights the entire sheet, which can be a really big problem because it's going to pull in so much empty data, and you don't want that. So you just go ahead and click anywhere in the active cell. You're going to do Control A. And by the way, this isn't just highlighting the travel. With a pivot table, it is pulling all the active cells in that highlight. Okay, and I'll show you what that means. Okay, so now once you have all your highlights, okay, so sorry, to your point, to your question, the question is, how did I get my 2019 summary? Did I manually calculate that? I absolutely did not. That actually took me literally, okay, to be fair, 60 seconds to put together. Okay, and that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do. All right, so bear with me. I'm going to show you exactly how to do that in 60 seconds, probably 10 seconds, but 60 seconds. Okay, so now I know you're all sitting, do it, do it, do it. All right, you got that all highlighted. Now we're going to go to the insert button. Click on insert, and there we have pivot table. You know, I never actually read what it means. Okay, let's see what Excel explains this to be. Easily arrange and summarize complex data in a pivot table. FYI, you can double click a value to see which detailed values make up the summarized total. I guess there's no better way to summarize that. Excel did a great job. Okay, now just click pivot table. All right, now create pivot table. So choose the data that you want to analyze. Select the table arrange. So my table arrange, mind you, as you can see, this isn't just selecting what I have filtered. It does not care about filters. What it's looking at is my active cells. My active cells are going from A1 to F2863. So now I know that it is pulling my entire active cell. And now I have two options. Choose where you want to put the pivot table report to be placed, either in the new worksheet or an existing worksheet. I always suggest to put it on a new worksheet, because if you do it on the existing worksheet, it could create a lot of issues, because it needs room to expand and to shrink based on the data you put in there. So my default is always putting it on to a new worksheet. So press OK, and boom, you are now on a new worksheet. Okay, so I have the pivot table. To build a report, choose fields from the pivot table field list. And you should see the pivot table fields on your side. Now, two things. One, if you're not seeing it, it could be for one of two reasons. Number one, your cursor was not highlighted on the pivot table. So if my cursor is away, I lose all my options, all my pivot table options. Okay, so that is one reason why. Okay, the other reason why is that your pivot table fields may be hidden. So let me show you how to get them, because it could be very frustrating. But here, number one, again, just like anything in Excel, in order to manipulate the data or get access to that information, you need to be highlighted on it. So if I click away, notice all my pivot table options have disappeared. Okay, so I'm going to go make sure that I'm highlighted on my pivot table, and now I have Analyze and Design. Okay, so if I click on my Analyze button, I have on the far right corner there, I have Show. Okay, so if I watch, Show, field headers, everything's gone. Okay, so go ahead and select it. And by the way, the field list is what I'm talking about. So there's your field list. So if you don't have your field list and you're highlighted and you're selected on your pivot table, go to Show and select the field list, and it will pull up your pivot table filters. Okay, so far so good? Okay. Now, what you will see here is your headers. Now remember, when I emphasize that it goes based on header categories. So it pulls my date, main company, company amount, category, and item description. So those are my main categories, and based on that is how I'm going to populate the data. Okay, so I'm going to use a filter. So I'm going to go to category. You remember the category we're working on is travel. I'm going to put it in my filter button. Now, look what happened. Right in the top corner there, I dragged my category button into my filter, and it automatically now becomes a filter. So if you notice, I have all my categories here. And I'm going to select this because now it allows me to deselect. So if the default mode is everything is selected, but I want to only select travel, right? Yeah, travel. Okay, so I'm going to, like a previous filter, I'm going to deselect all, so everything gets deselected. And again, you still have your filtering category, filtering ability in your search by your filters, okay? Or sorry, you search by your filters. Press travel, press OK. So now I notice that my category, it tells me the category is travel. Okay, so now I want to populate it into rows. Now, here's where the magic happens. I could go in here and adjust categories. But what I want to do is I want to show the rows. I want to show my companies, right? Because I asked which airlines, okay? So main company, come here. Look at that. It just now pulled out all my companies. Now I only want airlines. So this is fairly simple. I only want to select my airlines. So I got Aeroflot, Alaska Airlines, American Airlines, Delta, and United. And JetBlue. Okay, so that's much easier. I got United, JetBlue, Delta, American Express, Alaska, Aeroflot. Okay, notice, there we go. Okay, now I want to know the month and the year, okay? So first, I'm going to do the amount because I want to know how much I spent, right? So I'm going to take the amount category and I'm going to move it in the values category. Now, check that out. Look at that, sum of amount. Now, remember, it's important to make sure that it is calculating the amount that you've selected. So sum means that it's adding all the items together, okay? Versus count would be, it's counting cells. Versus count would be cells. So the sum amount, and this is really a dollar amount. So I want to change the field, right? I want to change it to a dollar amount so it knows that, so I know that it's dollar, not numbers. So I'm going to click on my value, sum of amount field. Okay, so then I get value field settings. So the field, the summarizes value by sum. So I wanted to add all the dollar values. Then I'm going to go to the number format. And again, this should be familiar to everyone. Now it gives me the ability to format the type of cell it is. So I want it to be currency, and I want to get rid of the decimal points. And if it's negative, I want it to be, okay, just in red. Okay, and I press OK, and boom. There it is, now converted it to dollar values. Okay. Now, I want to show the breakdown in year and month. Okay. So now I know total. So over the last 3 years, I spent $2,800 on these 5 flights. Okay. Now I want to do date. Look at that. You see what just happened? Let me show you again. I took the date. Don't worry. Anyone who's having a little trouble, I'm going to finish this train of thought and then I'm going to do it with a different category. So I'm going to keep doing it a few times until you get used to it, okay? So I want to show the date and I want to show it by year. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull the date into columns because I want my dates to be the columns and then the rows to be my companies. So here it automatically broke it down by years. And if you notice here in the columns, it actually broke it down by quarters and by date. So I could clean it up a little more and move the date and the quarters to my filters. So now I just have 2017, 2018, 2019. And there I have my totals. So I have my totals for 2017, I spent 566, 2018, 823, 2019, 1418. Okay, so that is my company. Now, if I want to do months, I would move into quarters here, and I would select the expand, okay? So here you see a little button here. So I could also go expand like this. Whenever you see the plus button here, you could do expand or collapse. So I want to do expand entire field. And what that will do is that will populate now quarter 2 and quarter 4. And in 2019, I have quarter 1, quarter 3, and quarter 4. Okay, so that is how. So then it breaks it down by each quarter. Now, if I wanted to do by month, I'm just trying to think. I don't know if I will be able to do that. Oh, okay. So now it gives me one more. I'm just debating if yes. So now I bring in the date and I go ahead and expand it one more. So I could select on any of them, expand entire field. And there now it broke it down by January, February, and May. Okay, let me just take a break here. If you got it, awesome. Keep playing around with it. Let me answer a few questions. Okay. Hanya, this is a pivot table. So the data that you're pulling it from, again, is from 2009, is from the details tab. And that is how I inserted the field. Now, if I ever want to check the source, I could come up here by data, okay? And I could look where the data is. So I selected data, and now it tells me it's from the details tab, and it is from A1 to F2863. I press OK, and then that is where it's getting its data from. And then based on that, it is just creating my headers because it pulled the headers, and then it is automatically breaking it down for me by filters, columns, rows, and values. So it just pulled it in automatically by inserting the pivot table. So let me show you again from the beginning. I'm going to show you how to insert pivot table from the beginning. Again, I'm going to do Control A, insert. Okay, so I go to insert and I press the pivot table. Okay, so I'm starting from the beginning. So whoever needed to catch it again, I'm doing this from the beginning again. Pivot table. Press insert, and then it's going to ask me select the table range. Yes, it's selected the right range. It's highlighted. I want all the active shells from the detail page on here, and I want it to be on a new worksheet. I press OK, and now as you notice, it created a new pivot table, and this one is called Sheet 2. Now, when I select on my pivot table, it automatically should be giving me the pivot table fields on the right-hand side. And these are my categories based on the sheet that I initially pulled from, which is my details sheet. Okay, so that is where it's pulling. That is where it's pulling that data. Okay, so now I'm going to pull down my main company. I could go in rows. If I do my main company, oh. Hold on a second. I could pull my main company here is in the filters. So I could put it in my filter, put my main company in the filter, and I could, sorry, not my main company. I don't want to do my main company yet because I want to do my category. So the categories, I could go here and I see all my categories. I could filter this way. But if I want to keep it a little more organized, I could do the filter up here, and then I could see the filter that I'm doing. So for this, I want to select travel. Okay, then within travel, I want to go to the main company. So I just drag down the main company, and here I have my companies that I have cleaned up. And by the way, if we didn't clean it up, this is what it would look like. You see, so that's why it's so important to clean up your data before you move into pivot tables, because then it will obviously just be much easier for you to organize the data and consolidate it. So this is what it would look like if we didn't clean up the data. However, we did clean it up, so this is what it looks like after it's cleaned. Then I wanted to show the columns. So my columns are defaulted by rows, and let's say I want to expand this category. I could expand it. Wait for it. There we go. And then expand right here. Expand, collapse. You also, sorry, you don't here. You also have active field. What do you want to do? Active field is in years. I could do field settings. I could also do collapse. Sorry, expand field, and I could do it one more time. And that will expand it and bring it one more. So it'll give me the quarter, and then it will give me the January. Okay. Okay. So again, if your airlines aren't showing up, just make sure that they are in your rows categories and not on your filter category. So if I move my company to the categories, then I'm not going to see my rows. It's just going to be up on top by my filters. So if you're not seeing the rows, if you're not seeing your companies, then you got to make sure that the main company is in the row category, the row box. So now I want to see how much I spent. So I'm going to go to amount, and I'm going to select on, put that in the values, and that right away calculates the values for me. And so I have year by category and broken down by month for each year. And then I want to format those cells. So I go to value field settings, which you get by clicking on the arrow by your pivot table, and go to number format, click on currency. I'll select the red for, or actually choose this, I like negative. I'm gonna get rid of my decimal points, press OK, and there it is now converted into dollar signs. Now, if I want to go ahead, one sec. If I go into the categories now, now I just want to filter out my airlines. I know which airlines I want. I go Aeroflot, Alaska, American Airlines, Delta, JetBlue, and United. Press OK, and there it readjusts, and now it just has my airlines and the totals for the month. Okay, so all I have is NW now is category in A and travel in G. Okay, travel in B. Okay, exactly. So, okay, so if you're not seeing YU Airlines, if you just see the category by A and travel in B, then you got to move the category, the main company category, down into your rows. So just select the main company in the rows, and then you will get it. That is how you will bring in those data points. Hope that answers your question. Okay. Okay, so Khani and I see Avi and Henya, I hope that answered your questions as far as getting your pivot table started and just selecting, deselecting, moving things around in the different filters to populate that information. Okay, and Naftali, I hope that was, I hope I helped catch you up. And Avi, I hope I showed you how to get the quarters and the years there as well. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to details, and I'm going to clean it up on a much bigger scale here. Okay, so I'm going to unselect everything. Let's take a look at, let's go through each category, right? So let's start with what's another company, what's another question that I asked? Okay, how about, let's go to the clothing category. Okay, so let's select the clothing category, and here we have 957. So we're talking out of the 2,862. So this is almost it's almost 30% of all our transactions as far as cells. So this is a big chunk of our transactions. We clean this up, and we'll have a lot of data to play around with. Okay, so I'm gonna first do A to Z, and here I have an empty cell. I don't know what that is, where it's from. I could go ahead and just type in Amazon, the odds of that being Amazon, and I am going to select. So here I want Amazon. So I have Amazon as the company, and I'm just going to go ahead and let's see if that's what I selected. Amazon. Now here, I know it's kind of duplicated, it's already, but I want it in the main category because that will allow me to clean up all the data. So I'll select here, and then I'll go all the way down. So there's ways I could do it. I could just see that's already half of our, so just scroll down to the bottom. And now what you want to do is hold the shift button before you click on that cell. Hold the shift and click, and then click the mouse, and then all those should be highlighted. And you could just press Control D, and that will now populate all the cells underneath to, and then that's your autofills. And then it gives you a quick analysis, but that will populate all the cells below it. So you now have 430 Amazon transactions that are associated with your clothing category. Okay, so now let's go. So now what I can do, which is a quicker way now, is that now I have this new main company field. If I already put a company there, I don't want to see it here, so it will help me keep track. Let me explain. So now I'm going to add a filter here on the main category, and I'm going to deselect Amazon and just select on the blanks. So every time I update a category, it will remove from my company because I've already taken care of it. So here, let's say I have ASOS, ASOS, ASOS. I'm going to select those, and now I'm just going to type ASOS, and that's 95 transactions. I'm going to just drag down my cursor, Control D. Now that's all clean. I'm going to do Control Home, bring me back up to the top. And now when I select, watch it, when I select filter again, it's again, my filter stays, it's only the blanks. So now I have Banana Republic. Just go ahead and that I'm just going to copy and paste. We have basic colors. Just by the way, as you can see, just cleaning up data is tedious. Once you know how this data is going to be read and how you want to use it in Excel, if you have an entry point, let's say when you're entering it into, let's say your let's say your QuickBooks, you know what you need to do. So you could, let's say you have the transaction detail and it says, Netherlands, New York, and one says Brooklyn, New York, and that's important to keep that. You could move that into, let's say, an item category and keep the brand consistent, or the main company consistent, so that when you do export that information, you won't have to do as much cleaning up. Okay, so here's Burlington. I'm gonna drag that down until I have it all selected. Oh, and there's Burlington, and then we have CC and Co. Then we have Century 21. That's a busy one there. Bunch of different. All right, see, here we go. Chocolate Espresso. That's a restaurant. So here's an example where that doesn't belong. That was miscategorized. So what do? No problem. I come to category and watch. I could start typing food, and look, it already recognizes that field, there's a food field, because that's already an active cell, and it did an autofill for me. I could just press enter and keep it, or I could keep typing and it won't move away. So I'm just gonna okay. So again, if Amazon is the only one coming up for you, make sure that all your other filters are off. Check your filters, and in general, check your filters and make sure it's just that your filters are unselected except for the clothing category, and then you should get everything. Okay, so this is food. I'm going to ignore that. Now watch. If I hit this again, then boom. Now I'm back to only, and number one, I could see here that this is kind of shrinking. So only, I filtered now. My main company, look, it's looking much cleaner now. And I only want the blanks because that's the one that will that's the one that I'm going to analyze. So here, this is my generic clothing company. Press here. Sorry. And then double header, Control C, press enter. Then I can do a Control D. Then DSW, Control C, enter, and then I could just drag it down. DSW, Control D. Okay, LZs, Control C, D. Forever 21. That was a quick one there. Fame. Enter. Gap. Okay, H&M. I like H&M when it's like that. No space in between. Press enter, and then I got my hat box. Okay, now, see, I noticed this one is spelled incorrectly, but here, let me just take one that is all these, and here. Now here, HM, I know that's H&M, so that didn't come out right, so I'm just gonna update that to reflect H&M. Incredible feet here. I have JC Penney. Which one do I like? Okay, this one. JC Penney, Joanne Stores. I have Karen Mitchell or Michelle. Okay, Kohl's. Drag that down. Okay. Control D. Legacy. Lev Couture. Little People's. By the way, here's another. Here's another trick. Let's say I have Macy's.com and I want to clean that up. So let's say it's not important for me. Let's say Macy's. I want Macy's to be all universal. Okay. So I see here there's a lot of Macy's.com and Macy's Green Acres. Let's say I got a bunch of those. So one way to do it, I could just go over it. But let's say it's all over the place. I want to replace Macy's. So I can do Control F. Okay. Now replace. Find what I want to find. I want to find Macy's.com. and I want to replace it with Macy's. Okay, now I can do replace all, and then all done. We've done 9 replacements. Okay, now that is a quick way to change up names that you know that are going to be universal, and you just want to change it all to the same thing. Okay, so Marshalls. Here's Marshalls also. Pickels. Nordstrom. That's not spelled right. Okay. Nordstrom. Okay, truth is Nordstrom and Nordstrom Rack are 2 different companies, I know. One is definitely cheaper than the other. It's important. Okay, so I'll show you again how to do, let's say Nordstrom Rack. I want to change the Nordstrom Rack, right? So I'm going to do Control F. Control F is find and replace. So default, it goes to find. I click on the replace button. Now, as you notice, this just is this, it's a floating window. So I could continue working on my sheet and keep this anywhere on the page. It's not going to disrupt me at all. It will just be active and I can do whatever I want with it. So let's say I have Nordstrom Rack, and what should I find? I want to find it this, okay? I'm going to copy and paste here, and then I want to replace it with regular Nordstrom Rack, copy and paste it in here, and now replace all, voila, done. Okay, so that is how you do find and replace, and then it will just change. But if you notice, number one, you have further options. That's closing them. Let's see, match case, match entire cell contents. So here, if I do match entire cell contents, and I go like this, now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to Control Z this for a second. Okay, now if I match entire cell contents and now replace all, that only does 2 changes. See, the difference is it didn't change. It only changed the cells that matched exactly to what was in the find what. What I normally do is just unselect them, and then it will change. Sorry, match case, replace all. No, sorry. Options, that should be simple. What? Oh, because, there we go. Oh, sorry. The reason why it's doing that, which is another point which gets confusing, because I'm highlighted on a specific set of cells, Excel thinks that the only ones I want to replace and find are my highlighted cells, so it's not looking anywhere else. But if I do now replace all, it will automatically replace any cells that match those conditions. Okay, so Old Navy. Okay, so as far as how I'm populated, I'm doing the quickest way. So I'll tell you, if I can do Control C and that's active, I could just highlight and press Enter. I don't need to do an autofill. I just find that easier just to Control C and then press Enter. Here I have Control C, highlight the cells I want to populate and press Enter. Here's Suit Central, Control C. If you notice, I'm doing the easy ones first, and then I'll go back to the smaller groups. Like here, I have Target. Even some of them are highlighted. And here, like, I can do an autofill now because I realized I didn't get all of them. Let me just do autofill, drag it down, and there I have all my Target. The Children's Place, I'm gonna do that. The Shell Station, yeah, I don't know, they sell gas, they sell clothes in the gas station. All right, the Suitery, TJ Maxx. TJ Maxx got a lot of moving parts there. I like, you know what, I like this better. I'm gonna highlight that and then I press Enter, Control C, Enter. Zappos. Zara. Okay, now I'm gonna hit the filter again and just press OK. And now we're talking. So we got the socks rolled here. Okay, I bought this from an individual. Let's call it Unique. And then Saks Direct. I'm just gonna copy and paste that name. And then, oops, sorry. Control D. And then here, Legacy. I think there was another one. It should pick it up. Okay, 1 second. Let me see something. Home. Sorry, Control Home. Okay. Oh, I thought I had one. Okay. Okay. So now, if you notice, there's no longer blank. What blank means, by the way, if you see a blank, blank means that in this set of active cells, there are cells that have no data in them. It's empty. So that's what blank means. So here I have now, oh, you see, I knew it. I knew there was another one. But notice, by the way, notice they're the same name, but if I go to the filter, if you notice, it comes up twice. And I'm asking why. So number one, right away, it was spelled differently. So I think it should be this way. And let me copy and paste, and now it's spelled correctly. Now notice, when I go back to my filter, it only shows one legacy. So this filters out everything and cleans it up. Okay, now we'll be able to get a little more creative with our pivot table. So we're gonna have a little more data to play around with, okay? So now I'm gonna go back to sheet 2, okay? Now, let's say you updated your pivot table and you updated your information, and now you want to make sure that that information is in the pivot table. Okay, so what you do is you click on your pivot table, you go to Analyze, and there is a refresh button here. Okay, and there's also, if I right click, and there's a refresh button here, and also there's Alt F5 is refresh as well. And what refresh does, it refreshes all the information. So if I had added new categories, it would have been added here. If I added new headers, it would have been added here as well. Also, any information that I had added, like what we did right now, that will be reflective here. Okay, so let's go ahead and change the category. So remember, we have already a filter on, and it's called category travel. We want to move it now to category clothing, right? So unselect, click on clothing, and watch the magic happen. Why multiple? Okay, it's not working. Broke. First of all, I gotta unselect that. Okay. Now, why is it not picking up my main category? Is this the right pivot table? Give me a second. Oh, you see? That's why. The reason being is because I had a filter on my main category too, because I only selected those airlines. But if you notice, all the other clothing is here. So if I unselect that, right? And by the way, just in case you were wondering, how did I know? If, let's say I didn't realize that I had to look in the filter and notice that. If you look at your pivot table fields, if it has a filter button next to it, it's telling you that there is an additional filter on that category. So by the main category, oh, I see there's an additional filter. I'm just going to select all, because now what's going to populate is all my companies. Okay, so I'm just going to look at, forget months, I'm just going to go years. Check it out. So look at that. And I want to do, so now it's automatically alphabetical order. But what I'd like to do is I want to go sort based on highest cost, right? So I'm gonna go here, I'm gonna right click on the field, gonna do sort, gonna do largest to smallest, and voila, it now sorts from top to bottom the largest to smallest costs. Okay, so Amazon is my highest at 5,053, Burlington 2138, and it goes down from there. It also gives me my total at 21,123, and then it gives me my annual total for each year: 5822, 9250, 5153, and then what the months that I have already for 2020. Okay, so let's say what I'd also like to look at is how many transactions that I have. Right now, what I showed you how to do is the sum of the transactions. So I know how much money I spent, but I want to know how many transactions that is, and then I could also calculate also what was my average transaction. But let's just first focus on total transactions, okay? So I'm going to select some amount again, and I'm going to put it in the values, okay? So now I have two. I have sum of amount and sum of amount two. But I'm going to update that field to be a count, not a sum. So I'm going to select on sum amount two. I'm going to click on the down arrow. I'm going to bring up my value field settings, and I'm going to select the count button. Okay, it was defaulted on sum. I want it now being on count. I'm going to press OK, and voila, there you have it. So now it's telling me exactly how many transactions I had. I had in 2017, 337 transactions for the amount of 2,736. Okay, and for the total, so now what I could do is I could sort based on transactions, based on total count, not just on amount, and that will obviously change my top to bottom. So the second most was ASOS. It's ASOS. It's not the highest amount that I spent, but it's the second to most transactions that I did. So that gives me a perspective. So now let's say I want to focus on 1 year just to clean it up. So what did I do? I moved now, my years were in my columns. So everything that's being evaluated is in my columns. And by the way, if you notice, I even changed the way I'm looking at this data. And if you're picking up, you can move stuff everywhere. So I could look at it two ways. One, I could look at it the year comparison. So I'm looking at year, I want to see the amount and the count. So total sum, and right next to the total sum, I want the total count. But let's say I want to be able to look at the numbers next to the year. So I don't want the header to be the year. I want the header to be the category, the amount, the values. So here, now I have the amount. So now I have the sum amount, and I have under that 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020. So it separated the amounts, and it compared it year over year. And now I have my count. So now it shows the count of transactions. So 2017, I had 337, 2018, 93, so on and so forth. So obviously, it depends on how you want to look at it, would dictate how what you want the comparison to be. Do you want it based on year with the sum and the count, or do you want it based on the count and compare the years side by side? But let's go ahead and focus on 1 year. So I'm going to move my years again. I'm going to move my year over to my filter. Okay, so now, as you can see, now I have 3 filters going on here. I have my category, the company. I haven't filtered anything from those companies. I haven't filtered anything. And then the years, if I scroll down, notice I have 3 years. Now, don't worry, those are default cells that they're empty cells or something that it picks up. It doesn't know what to do with that information. But it's inconsequential right now. I'm going to go ahead and select, let's say, 2017. Okay? I'm going to press OK. Now, if you see, my filter now is just for 2017. So in 2017, I had a total of 530 transactions. and $5,822. Okay? Okay, so again, I had the same. If you are only showing your previous filter, let's say if you did exactly what I'm doing, but like happened to me, you're only seeing the airlines. What you need to do is you need to remove the filter. So if you go to the company, sorry, go to the main company filter, and that may be here too. So if you filter here, look, see, I have Aeroflot, I have Airbnb, I have Alaska Airlines, American Airlines. Those are main companies, but they're not here because I filtered out by clothing. So number one, clothing, and then just deselect, you could select all and remove any of the filters. So now I have everything selected. I press OK, and then you should be able to just see the brands of those clothing. Okay, and that is how you should be pulling up the brands for clothing. And by the way, you have 20. Let's say you want to know how many brands you have. You remove that from the filter, and you bring it down by, you bring down the count of company. Sorry, not count. You do. Oh no, no, sorry. If you want to do, all right, that's okay. Sorry. Yeah, it doesn't. I know why it's doing that. Okay, what I want to do is I want to see how many company brands I have, and right away I just highlight them, and I have 29 brands, 29 unique brands. Okay. If you're typing clothing and it comes up blank, you should be typing clothing in your categories. Okay. So if you're typing up your clothing in your categories, then you should have it. Okay. I'm gonna keep moving. Okay. So here's what I'm gonna do. Let's see. I showed you the 2019. I created this. I'm gonna show you how to do that. Let's say for 2017 as a whole. Okay. So I showed you how to clean up the data. Now I want to show you. Let's say I wanted to give a high-level summary for my 2019. For my 2017 expenses by category, month over month. Okay, so I'm going to create a new pivot table because I want to do this from scratch. Now I'm going to do this from start to finish, A to Z. So if you can't keep up with me, that's fine. Just watch, because you'll be able to watch it on the video itself. But I want to show you how quickly you can do this. So again, I'm going to highlight everything. I'm going to go to insert. I'm going to select pivot table. I'm going to want it in a new worksheet. Now I'm focusing on one thing. I want a high-level summary of my 2017 expenses. Okay. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my date. I'm going to put it in my filter category, and I'm going to select 2017. Oh, sorry. Why? Oh, sorry. It's in my years. I didn't realize that it already broke it down by years. So I have my date and I have my years. I got to make sure I select my years, break it down, and select 2017. Now that 2017 is highlighted, I'm going to now drag down my category over to my rows. So now right away I have my rows in my categories. Now I want to go over month over month. So I'm going to collect date, and I'm going to expand this field. So expand field, and now I just want the months. Okay, so get rid of that, move that there. So now all I have is January, February, March through December, and a grand total. Now I want to know the amount I spend. Just dragging that down there, and voila, there you have my summary. I spent $47,000, and I have it by each category. Now, let's say I wanted to go even, no, that's actually it. I'm done. That's my summary right there. Now I spend more time formatting and making it look pretty. Now I want to go ahead and, let's say, obviously change the number format to dollars. So I would go to currency, remove the double decimal, and there I have my summary. And now I have month over month by category. And then what I would do in such a scenario, I would copy and paste this. Like, that's exactly what I did here. Copy and paste it, and just make it look pretty. Now, by the way, keep in mind that when you copy and paste a pivot table, if you copy and paste the whole pivot table like this, or let's say you have, if you copy and paste everything, watch what happens. It will copy and paste literally the pivot table. But I don't want the pivot table here. I just want the data that I generated. Let's say I want to take a copy and paste this and email it to someone, right? So I'm going to go into my new sheet here and just press enter, and now this is just data. You see? It's static data. Whatever I do on my pivot table now will not affect this information. And now I could start formatting. I can make it look pretty. I could rename, I want this to be called categories. Sorry, spelled that wrong, and then I have my totals here. So that is a quick way. And by the way, now it's even easier, because what I can do now is I don't even have to do this again. I could just go up here and I could now select for 2018. And boom, I'm done. Now these are all my cells for 2018. And then let's say, okay, let me look at 2019. I'm gonna go, 2020, let's see how we're doing. And right away, why do I have a December 2019 for taxes? I don't know, 2020? Who knows? But see, for August, I already have an expense over there for my taxes. I gotta talk to my accountant. Why is he charging me for taxes they didn't file yet? Anyway, but here it only populates obviously the months that there is data for. So that's my years. Again, if you are not getting the quarters or the years, then drag your date option into columns, into filters, and expand it, and then you should be able to get the options. Okay. So 1 second here. If I look at details, yeah. So if I unselect this, see it's already, see the years is already being filtered. Let me select all that, no more filter. Okay, so again, if I were to go to date, okay, so date here, it's just giving me the months because I already expanded that field. But if I hadn't done so, then it would automatically break it down if it recognizes it by years and by quarters, and then by dates itself. Okay. Okay, let me see here, why does the main company list include all companies even after I have selected a specific category? For example, in my table, I first filter category, and then the main company list has all the companies from all the categories. Okay, so if I go main company, and now I have no filter on this. So I have all the years, all the quarters, all the dates, and main company, and let's say amount, right? So now, based on company, I can see what is my highest expense I have. So obviously it's blank because I didn't categorize that. But if I were to remove the blank, now my most expensive category is Amazon. So now let's say I only want to see the clothing category, because right now this is all the main companies, but I want to only see the clothing category. So if I drag it down here in rows, you'll see right away it creates now a filter and it makes a subcategory. So if I drag the category on top of the main category, it now creates charity, and then it tells me Lux and Arrow. Clothing, it does here. So again, I could go select that, analyze, and I could do collapse field, and then it will shrink my fields to just the header categories. But let's do expand field. So now I want to only see the clothing, right? So how do I do that? I drag the clothing, the category filter up on top. So now I have 4 filters going on here, or potential filters. I'm not using them because on the B side, I have all. So I know everything's being selected. So I go to years, quarters, date, category. On category, I select clothing. Okay. And now here, there's already an active filter that is here. But if I were to go the other way, let's say I select everything, right? And let's say I do only, in here I do Aeroflot, Airbnb, Alaska, Amazon, not Amazon, those airlines, right? So now if I go to category here and I select, now if I select clothing, you see that nothing comes up because I filtered the filter. Because if I look here, what happened is that I never removed the filter from my airlines. So how do I get over that? Do I have to now unselect everything? No, because I have the top filter is clothing. So as soon as I remove the lower filter, the only thing that's going to show me is the clothing filter. Notice there's no airlines here because my top filter already took care of that. So as you play around with it, and you just realize how each filter affects. So the higher the filter is, the more inclusive it is. And then, so again, if I go to the top and I select 2019, so my clothing filter shrunk because it's only showing me the clothing companies that were in 2019. Now I could go even further and say, no, it happened in Q2. So that's going to shrink even more. And I want to be even more specific. I want it to be in Q2 in April. Notice it shows me all the months, by the way, even though Q2 is only 3 months. But here, May goes even shorter. So this is 2019 Q2 in May, clothing category. This is what I broke down. So that is how you want to double check your filters to make sure it's pulling in the right data, and any information that's not there is a result of probably being filtered out. So I see some justification for paying accountants for taxes already post-dated. Okay. So that, in a nutshell, is your pivot table, and I hope this was helpful. I hope you've all experienced that aha moment, or like, no way, this is crazy. I just saved myself 25 hours. How come I didn't? Where have you been my whole life? That's fine. I've been there myself. Enjoy the moment and excel out of it. go Excel all your newfound information. And by the way, here's another feature, by the way, as well, because I asked about monthly average, right? So here's a sum amount, but let's say I want to know what's my average that I spend, right? What's my average amount? So what you could do is you could change the value field setting. You could change it to average as opposed to sum or count. So average would be, look, now it shows me my average amount. So of course, it's just telling me an average. Now, I don't know MB travel, I don't know how many transactions I have. So I think for this to help me out a little bit, I'm going to do amount. I'm going to do two amounts. One, I have the average amount, I have the sum amount, and then I'm going to add one more, which is going to be the count, which will be how many transactions of that category do I have. Okay, so of course I have blank here, but let's say if I'm going to remove the blank because that just it looks messy. It takes up all the fun. So average of amount, I'm going to convert that the number format to currency and remove the decimals. Press OK. Then for sum amount, again, I'm going to number format and I'm going to convert that to currency 0. Okay, now let's say I don't like this order, right? I want to move things over. So no problem. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to do the count in front. Then I want to do the total sum amount, and then I want the average. Okay, so here's MB Travel. I have 3 transactions with them. My total was $11.95, and on average I'm spending $3.98. Okay, so and by the way, here you already have preloaded, so I could keep going here. I could go amount, and then I could go the min, right? Which we discussed. Here's my minimum that my smallest transaction that I did of those 3 transactions. So you could just keep going on and keep going on and keep going on. Again, it depends on what you want to do, but again, I suggest as well, once you find, let's say, like what we did with your 2017 summary, once you've built it out and you like the results and you like what you see, copy and paste that onto a new Excel, make it look pretty, and there, voila, you have a really cool Excel file and all these total numbers and data that you spat out within 10 seconds. So this is just, of course, the tip of the iceberg, but I hope I gave you the grounding tools, the foundation to the 2 pivot tables to help you analyze your data, how you enter data, and to create really nice, to really sort through quickly information and total and tally and see what's going on in all these different fields. Okay, so by the way, another question I ask you for Jack, you asking why is Burlington a negative? That's for a refund. That's why. So I returned some stuff, from the previous year that year, and then therefore it was a negative. Maybe I got some back, which is I'm not even sure. The negative is basically let's see, 83 must have been some negative transaction. It's probably maybe I got a refund. I think that's how a refund would be coming back up, because it's a positive. It's no longer an expense anymore, so the negative is really a positive. I got that money back. That's what's going on. Okay, so grid lines. So here. Oh, okay. You know what? Good question, Dennis. And let me just show you also. You have all your style here. You have all your designs. So you could put in grid lines. Again, you also have here. You have by home. You have, again, of course, your borders. You could just do a highlight, and you could do borders, and there you have the borders. you still, again, have all your design options. You could play around here, you know, look at that if you like that, color, whatever. Here you have your tallies up and down. So that's how so you could still manipulate and change and design each cell exactly how you would do it on a regular sheet as well. Hope I answered your question. Okay. Okay. So Henny, I saw you ask that a few times. I'll explain to you the blanks right now. Okay. So if I come back, let me go to the details, right? In my main categories, so I'm in my details page and I select a filter for my main category, right? And I have this blank category. What that means is the blanks mean it doesn't have any information in it. So if I select blank, there's nothing there. It's literally blank. That is what it's referring to. And blank meaning there's no formula, there's nothing, there's no activity in that cell. Because look, if I put here and I put a 0, oh, it's a date. I don't know why it's a date. Oh, because that's probably why. Because when I inserted the column, this is a date, so it rolled over the formula, the format of the cell as well. But now if you look here, look, all of a sudden now that becomes an active cell, and it's no longer a blank. Or if I just do, let's say, like one dot there, or a question mark, and so on and so forth, that becomes now its own cell. And look, I have a period here, I have a question mark there, and it is no longer a blank cell. So that's what the blank means. Yes, anonymous. The way I highlight, the way I select a lot of cells at once is Control A. That's the trick. That's the shortcut, and it will select all the active cells. Okay, that's a wrap. So that is literally a wrap. You know what? It's a class like this where you probably all know me, and if you were to see me on the street, you would recognize me. I don't know what any of you look like. I don't even know many of your names, but it's been a pleasure teaching you, and I hope that you enjoyed this, and honestly, I hope that you can walk away. I mean, again, like I said in the beginning, my goal of this class really was that you should walk away from this course with a very high level of confidence and competence in the Microsoft Office suite softwares, and that really, if you have a job, if you have a position, this should definitely add much more. And I hope to hear that you're using it. And by the way, I've offered my services already, and really, please reach out to me if you have any questions. This is what I do, and I'm happy to help. If you have any questions that I can help you with in your professional world, please reach out to me. I will make myself available. We could schedule something, and I could help troubleshoot what you have. I enjoy doing it, and you know, you put in the time to participate in this class. I want to see you succeed. I want you to leverage the tools that we have. So please reach out to me if you have any questions. I'm happy to make myself available. I guess that's it. Yes. Yes, and oh, about the videos, this will be a video, and obviously, um, people have been asking the availability of these videos. The videos, they'll be available ad infinitum, so they're forever. I mean, there's no limit. They're just going to be up on YouTube. So if you have access to that link, you'll be able to watch these videos at your leisure, as they say. So enjoy. Thanks so much, and I wish you all the best. Okay, I appreciate the feedback. And you know what? It's what I would like. I'm gonna ask Shua. I would really appreciate maybe if we send out. Do you remember the survey that we sent to everybody beforehand on your level of comfort in the three softwares? I would love to if we do that again now after the class, and we could do a comparison. It will mean a lot to me, just so that I know that you guys learned something. And I've never done a forum like this, teaching for this long on this type, never meeting my students. So please, I really appreciate the format. I really appreciate this opportunity, and it sounds like everyone learned a little bit, so thank you. And spread the knowledge too, by the way. Don't hold it to yourself. Do not hold this knowledge to yourself. Teach people how to use Excel, especially. Excel is such a powerful tool, and I'm sure you could appreciate it now. Save you hundreds of hours, and really just be smarter and better on looking at data. So have fun. It's been a pleasure. I'm just going to read. Thank you so much for all the positive feedback. And yeah, and yes, watch this class over and over again, because it's my goal for this class was really just to make it really personal and personable and applicable to your day-to-day life. So stop the share. Let me just finish reading here. Welcome. All right. All right. Happy everyone enjoyed. Well, all the best, guys. Don't be shy. You see me, say hello to me, and take care.